Thor, the god of thunder, possessed a mighty hammer, a source of formidable power that deterred giants from attacking the realm of the gods. One morning, however, Thor awoke to find his hammer missing from beside his pillow. Disturbed by this, he suspected the giants, thinking, "It must be them." Realizing the gravity of the situation, Thor knew that unless he swiftly reclaimed the hammer from the giants, they would launch an assault on the divine kingdom, causing severe destruction. Thor explained the situation to a fellow god named Loki, who assured him, "Fear not. If I can borrow the magical feathered cloak of the goddess Freyja, I can fly to retrieve the hammer." Together, Thor and Loki sought out Freyja, narrating the events to her. Understanding the urgency, Freyja lent them her magical cloak. Loki promptly donned the cloak and soared towards the land of the giants. Upon reaching the kingdom, Loki encountered King Thrym, who sat exuberantly atop a hill. Loki approached Thrym and greeted him, saying, "You seem quite joyful." Thrym chuckled and replied, "Indeed, I have acquired something rare and precious." Loki inquired, "Rare and precious? Could it be Thor's hammer?" Thrym nodded affirmatively. Loki nonchalantly suggested, "Such a valuable item and you have no use for it. Why not return it?" However, Thrym shook his head, stating, "I've hidden it 10 meters underground. If Thor wishes to reclaim it, he must bring Freyja as my bride, and I will return the hammer immediately." Loki, angered by Thrym's demand, found himself without recourse. Upon returning to Thor, Loki quickly recounted the situation. Thor, upon hearing the news, crossed his arms and said, "This complicates things. Regardless, there's no reason to let such a beautiful goddess marry that giant," Loki remarked. "Indeed, but for the sake of the divine kingdom, we must reluctantly endure. Alas, there's no other choice. We'll have to approach Freyja and plead with her," replied Thor. The duo hurried to Freyja's abode, laying out the situation and seeking her assistance. However, Freyja's expression changed upon hearing their request, and she angrily exclaimed, "What? Marry Thrym? The mere thought makes me sick. No, I refuse. You've gone too far, coming to me with such words. Go back." Perplexed, Thor and Loki sought the counsel of Odin, the king of the divine realm. Odin summoned many gods to discuss a strategy for reclaiming the hammer. One god suggested, "I believe deception is the only way to retrieve the hammer from Thrym." "How do we deceive him?" inquired Thor. "Have Thor dress in women's attire, with a string of keys around his waist, adorned with jewels on his chest, and a beautiful veil on his head. Pretend to be Freyja and marry the giant Thrym," the god proposed. Thor grumbled, "Are you talking nonsense? I won't do that." The god who made the suggestion admonished him, saying, "If you refuse, your hammer will remain in Thrym's possession, and he will inevitably use it to attack the divine kingdom. Are you okay with that?" Faced with no alternative, Thor reluctantly agreed and dressed as a bride. He adorned himself in a beautiful bridal gown, adorned with exquisite jewelry and a glamorous veil, transforming into a stunning bride. Upon seeing Thor's transformation, Loki remarked, "All right, I'll also dress as a lady and accompany you." So they sat on the prepared goat-driven carriage and arrived at the residence of the giant king Thrym. Thrym, eagerly anticipating the arrival of his beautiful bride, was busy preparing for the grand wedding ceremony and sumptuous feast. When the impostor, Freyja, and her entourage arrived, the adorned Thrym hurriedly went out to welcome them, bringing them to the spacious hall where the banquet would take place. As the feast began, the bride enthusiastically enjoyed every dish and guzzled down jugs of wine. Thrym, astonished, remarked, "I've never seen a bride eat so voraciously, and never have I seen a bride drink so fiercely." Loki stepped in to cover for Thor, saying, "Freyja has missed you so much that she hasn't eaten anything for 8 days. That's why she's eating so heartily today." Thrym, finding the bride's behavior endearing, approached her, lifted her veil, and was startled, exclaiming, "The bride's eyes look too fierce, like flames burning." Loki once again covered for Thor, saying, "Freyja hasn't slept for 8 days because she missed you so much. It's only natural for her eyes to look like that." Thrym, even more pleased, loudly instructed his attendants. "Now let's cleanse the bride. Bring in the hammer and place it on the bride's lap. Summon the goddess Var to officiate our wedding." His attendants promptly brought in the hammer, placing it on the bride's knees. At that moment, Thor, still disguised as the bride, stood up, gripping the hammer. The giants were shocked, and chaos ensued, but it was too late. Thor stripped off the bride's attire, wielded the hammer, and struck down the giant king and the others one by one. Thanks to Thor's courageous actions, the hammer was recaptured, and peace was restored to the divine kingdom.